Picture postcard images that will be imprinted on your mind if you're taking part in the famous Dakar Rally. And this year, its 19th running, there have been some big changes. Firstly, locals won't be seeing the famous specially built prototype desert racers. They've been banned in favour of more traditional vehicles.
Well, what we want to have more drivers who are able to win and more manufacturers. This year we have Toyota, Nissan, Mitsubishi, SsangYong, who come all with new cars, and there's about 15 drivers who are able to win.
And another change. This year the entire event took place in Africa, starting and finishing in the capital of Senegal, Dakar. Competitors headed east to Mali and a place you may have heard of, Timbuktu, then on to Agadez in Niger, before returning westwards through Mali and Mauritania back to Dakar 16 days after they left. Just under 300 competitors turned up, including Richard Partridge and Keith Parker from Ipswich, who failed to finish the event on their previous 4 outings, but were hoping for better things this year. And so was John Deacon from Plymouth, back for the second year running on his privately entered KTM. He crashed out on day 8 last year whilst lying 16th among the bikes. On another Austrian KTM was Ulsterman Ian Graham, who last year became the first British biker to make it to the finish. And he aimed to do likewise on this year's 5,000-mile event. Setting the early pace among the bikes was 4 times winner Stefan Petterhansel from France on a Yamaha. Spaniard Jordi Arcaron on a KTM has finished second on the last 3 Dakars, and this year was determined to go one place better. The 2 American riders, Danny Laporte and Jimmy Lewis, have competed previously and seemed very concerned about the wildlife they might encounter.
The trees are lined on each side of the road, and you never know when an animal could cross the road. So you really, and you have to go fast, but it's like a gamble, you know? You really don't know if an animal crosses somewhere on the road when you're going 100 miles an hour.
Away from the bikes, Mitsubishi were out in force, sending a 3-car team of 4-wheel drive Pajeros. With no Citroën Works team competing this year, the Japanese manufacturer had high hopes of winning the event. All 3 drivers, Frenchmen Jean-Pierre Fontenay and Bruno Sabi, and Japan's top rally star Kenjiro Shinazuka had previous Dakar experience. Shinazuka was worried about catching the bikes, which start an hour ahead of the cars.
It's very, very dangerous. We must pass more than 30, 40 motorbike. It's very, very dangerous for us and also for motorbike.
But he wasn't alone in facing that problem. Jean-Louis Schlesser had again entered 2 of his famous 2-wheel drive buggies, one for himself and the other for one of the few female drivers, Jutta Kleinschmidt. Last year's runner-up, Philip Vanberg, was now driving a Toyota, but he was struggling to hold a top 10 spot. The first major casualty among the cars was ex-Grand Prix driver Patrick Tombe in his Korean SsangYong Musso.
Broke the up front wishbone, as you can see, just here. It's a stress rupture. Everything went fine, 50 Ks in the holes, pretty standard, and it just broke.
Bringing up the rear are the great trucks which compete on the event. The drivers of these monsters take it just as competitively as everyone else, and it was the Japanese Hino that was the truck to beat this year. And you certainly don't want to be in the way when these are in full flight to an overnight camp. Perhaps this is the secret of Hino's success. And talking of success, as they left Senegal and headed east towards Timbuktu in Mali, Petterhansel had opened up a half-hour lead over Magnaldi and Arcaron. Danny Laporte was really feeling the pressure, but still giving a running commentary.
This is about the fastest Dakar I've ever raced. I think the pace that Stefan's setting is too fast, so everyone else has got to follow if they want to stay in the game. I got to slow down right here. Oh, I missed a turn almost.
But in the car sections there was no such gap. The lead had changed on a daily basis. First Fontenay, then Schlesser, and now the wily Shinazuka was to put his Pajero into the lead when Schlesser made a navigational error. Just 5 minutes separated the top 6 cars. On the motorcycle front, as day 3 drew to a close, Brit John Deacon was holding 33rd spot. Ulsterman Ian Graham was holding 39th and burning the midnight oil.
It's not difficult, and it's just tiring, you know, because you're up every morning. I was up this morning before 6 and didn't go to bed after 12 last night. It's the same the night before, you know. And you have no tent or anything, you're just lying with the creepy crawlies.
But day 4 was to prove crucial among the bikes. The two Americans were about to be separated.
My shoulder came out. I dislocated my shoulder. I don't know what else.
For Laporte, it was all over, as it was for Heinz Kinnegartner, whose recurring back trouble forced him out. As the cars headed for Timbuktu, the lead changed yet again. Kenjiro Shinazuka's gearbox overheated, and then he had brake problems, causing him to drop valuable seconds. Bruno Sabi grabbed a full minute lead in his Pajero. But glad to get to the overnight camp was a relieved Brit.
Well, we were just running along a long piece of track that was sunken into the surrounding ground in fairly soft sand. It was fairly quick. I suppose we were doing 60 or 70. The car just crossed up and got some grip bit, and that was it. Over she went. It was fairly docile, really. You know, no damage, no harm done to us, and the car is just a bit scratched and dented, as you see.
At the end of the first crossing of Marly, Jean-Pierre Fontenay took his second stage win. Jean-Pierre's teammate Bruno Sabi finished third, but it was good enough to keep the overall lead. Less than a minute separated the three Mitsubishi Pajeros. In the bike section, it was somewhat different. Petter Hansel had an hour's lead, but on the Dakar, circumstances can soon change, and Jordi Arcaron in second spot knew there were another 10 days still to go. Danger on the Dakar comes in many forms. On their first visit to Niger for 5 years, the organisers suddenly found they had to reroute the event because of terrorist activity. But for Jean-Louis Schlesser, his problem was more straightforward. A big roll put him and co-driver Philippe Monet out of the event. Now you might have thought that after Mitsubishi's main rival had bitten the dust, their drivers would have eased up. But no, they were battling with each other. So would there be team orders?
It is too early to say something about who could win, who should win. It's much too early.
In fact, the ever-present threat of soft desert sand would make its mark on the Mitsubishi situation. Sabi misjudged the depth of sand crossing a particularly deceptive dune. So near and yet so far. Even with the kind assistance of the gentlemen of the press who follow this event by helicopter, vital minutes were lost, and with it, any hope of a Dakar win. And the going was getting tougher. At Agadez, competitors headed back to the coast, and another chapter of Dakar history was written. A female driver won a special stage.
A big day for you.
Yes, very big. First time I make a scratch and then into Dakar. Woo!
Now, all eyes were on the Mitsubishi tussle for first place, but their battle tactics were soon spotted by Jutta Kleinschmidt.
Today when I passed kilometer 60, the two Mitsubishi was stopped on the left side and was waiting for Shino. So for me, I think they decided that Shino win. I'm not sure, but it looks like.
Team orders, probably all the way from Japan, had been issued. The elder statesman should win if he doesn't break down. So, for the rest of the rally, they held station, and Fontenay and Sabi ran close to Shinazuka, just in case. For 13 days, Arcaron had shadowed Petter Hansel in the hope that he'd stumble, but a stray dog would end Arcaron's challenge, leaving Petter Hansel an easy victory. And both British riders made it back to Dakar this year for for the famous final stage along the Atlantic beach.
I've been looking forward to this moment for 2 weeks now, and I'm very, very happy.
So were Dick Partridge and Keith Parker, who also made it. But it was Kenjiro Shinazuka and co-driver Henry Mann who took the honours for the dominant team of the year, Mitsubishi. And at the end of 16 days, only 8 minutes separated their top 3 drivers.